We're live, okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our May 6th council meeting. Our first order of business is a call to order and the Pledge of Allegiance, so if we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 2 on the agenda is the reading of the Sunshine Statement and roll call by our municipal clerk, Mrs. Lauren Statz.
This meeting of the Dunellen Borough Council is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of May 6, 2024 was included in a list of meetings that was advertised in the Courier on January 8, 2024, and as a teleconference was noticed on the official Dunellen website on May 3rd, 2024, and on the public bulletin board on North Avenue on May 3rd, 2024, and has remained continuously posted as required under notice of the state statute. Mayor Salento,
Present.
Council President Albertson,
Here.
Mrs. Lance,
Here.
Mrs. Rios,
Here.
Mr. Scott,
Here.
Mr. Sigmund,
Here.
and Mr. Vandermark.
Here. Yeah. What was that? QuickBooks. We are not endorsing QuickBooks at this council meeting, so just so everyone's aware, I guess legal disclaimer, right? 2 points of business before we start our full meeting. First and foremost, Councilmember Hal Vandermark, we are happy to have you back in our chambers. The other news is not good. You may have noticed the bunts on Borough Hall and our flags around town are flying at half mast. And there's a notice on the Washington Memorial Park digital sign. Former Mayor John Gibney passed away over the weekend. So before I say a few words about him, I'd like us to take a moment of silence. Thank you. Mayor Gibney was a longtime councilman, a mayor, of course, and a lifelong resident. He was a good friend to Dunellen, and he was a good friend to me when I started as mayor. He became a mentor to me personally, and I can always count on his support and words of wisdom and guidance when I needed them. If you see the Welcome to Dunellen signs around town, all the park signs, as well as several of the businesses signs in our downtown, you can thank John for that. He designed them and manufactured them for Dunellen. His heart was here in this town. His legacy to Dunellen will live through his work as a councilman, a mayor, and of course, most importantly, his family and his friends he leaves behind. So please keep Gene, his wife, and his children, his grandchildren, all in your prayers. And we will find a way to honor him more than just this saying. So thank you, John, for your service, and may you rest in peace. Item number 3 on the agenda is the mayor's appointments to boards, commissions, and authorities. Number 1 is the appointment of Patricia Keim and Ellen Burns to the Mara House Restoration Committee with a term expiration of December 31st, 2024. Mrs. Keim, Mrs. Burns are not in the audience. So their swearing in can occur, at the municipal clerk's office, and Mrs. Statz will reach out to them. The second appointment we have is Lena Mack for her term to expire on 12/31/2026 to the Dunellen Arts Inclusion and Culture Commission as alternate member 1, I believe. So she is also not here this evening. And so she can get her swearing at the next meeting or at the municipal clerk's office. Mrs. Stats will reach out to her. And so we thank all three individuals for stepping up and volunteering, as we always thank all our volunteers for stepping up, and we encourage more people to get involved. Item number 4 on the agenda is a proclamation declaring the month of May as Mental Health Month. So I'll just read it out really quick. Whereas there is a proven connection between good mental health and overall personal health, and whereas mental illness affect almost every family in the world, and whereas people with mental illness often recover if given the necessary services and supports in their communities, and whereas people with mental illnesses make important contributions to our families and our communities, and whereas millions of adults and children are disabled by mental illnesses every year, and whereas only 1 out of 2 people with a serious form of mental illness seeks treatment for his or her mental illness, and whereas stigma and fear of discrimination keep many who would benefit from mental health services from seeking help, and whereas research shows that most effective way to reduce stigma is through personal contact with someone with a mental illness, and whereas a good mental health is critical to the well-being of our families, communities, schools, and businesses, and whereas greater public awareness about mental illnesses can change negative attitudes and behaviors towards people with mental illnesses. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Jason F. Salento, on behalf of the Borough of Dunellen, New Jersey, do hereby declare the month of May 2024 as Mental Health Month. As mayor, I also call upon all Dunellen citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental illnesses, reducing stigma and discrimination, and promoting appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental illness. Dated today, May 6, 2024, underneath my signature. Item number 5 on the agenda is the approval of our meeting minutes of our regular meeting, April 15th, 2024. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Rios.
Any comments, additions, redactions, or edits made as the meeting minutes currently stand? Without hearing any, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund,
Yes.
and Mr. Vandermark.
Abstain due to
Abstain.
absence.
Okay. Item number 6 of our agenda is adoption of ordinances. First up, we have 2024-11, an ordinance to amend the Chapter 168 Food Handling Establishments, Section 168-2, License Required Fee Expiration. Can I have a motion and a second to open the floor to the public?
Move it, Rios.
Second, Sigmund.
Just so everyone is aware, the amendments to this specific ordinance were that if you're having an event that's seasonal, you can just obtain 1 food handler's license instead of having to come back every time that there's a specific date. For example, like if there's an open air market in Washington Park, before they had to get it every single weekend. Now they only have to get it 1 time for the entire season. So some efficiencies. So if there's any public comments or questions specifically to ordinance 2024-11, please state your name and address. Without hearing any, we will close that portion to the public. We'll open the floor to Mayor and Council for any discussions or comments or questions on 2024-11. Without hearing any, we'll take a roll call.
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund,
Yes.
and Mr. Vandermark.
Yes,
Can I have a motion and a second on 2024-12, an ordinance to amend several sections of Chapter 227, Secondhand Goods and Precious Metals?
Move. Second, Sigmund.
Okay, just before we open up to the public on this, basically, this is an ordinance that we had on the books that we're cleaning up so we can better enforce and regulate secondhand goods stores, precious metals such as cash for gold, and ensure that they're running a quality institution. So with that, we'll open the floor to the public if you have any comments or questions specifically to 2024-12. Without hearing any, we'll close that portion to the public. And we'll open the floor to the mayor and council for any discussion on it. And with the application process, Mrs. Stats, it'll be a more efficient process and, okay. Okay. If there's no discussion or questions, we'll take a roll call, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund,
Yes.
and Mr. Vandermark.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion and second on 2024-13, a bond ordinance providing for sewer improvements in and by the Borough of Dunellen, appropriation $320,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of 320,000 bonds for notes of the borough to finance the cost thereof.
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Albertson.
Okay, before we open up to the public, basically, this is an improvement for the purpose of financing of which the bonds are to be issued is the borough share of the public sewer improvements to the sewer main that connects, Dunellen North Washington Pump Station to the Plainfield Area Regional Sewage Authority, Interceptor in Greenbrook, related to the development of the Dunellen Station Arcola redevelopment project, including all work and materials necessary therefore and incidental thereto. So basically, this was part of our financial agreement with the developer that we would take on partially of this pump station improvements. So this is our part of the bonding for it. If the public has any comments or questions, please state your name and address specifically for 2024-13. Without hearing any, we'll close that portion of the meeting to the public on 2024-13 and open up to the mayor and council for any comments, questions, and discussion on this. Okay, take a roll call, please.
Mrs. Albertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund,
Yes.
and Mr. Vandermark.
Yes.
Item number 7 on our agenda is related to our budgets. Item number 1 is resolution authorizing the calendar year 2024 municipal budget and the calendar year 2024 sewer budget to be read by title only. And we have resolution 506-2024, number 137. Can I have a motion and second, please, by council?
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Rios.
Mr. Olson, you're good with the budget? Okay, we had a presentation last meeting. If everybody want to go look at it online. That didn't grammatically make sense. Look at it online and hear what's our goals for this year. So if there's no further discussion by council, we have a roll call, please.
Sure.
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund,
Yes.
and Mr. Vandermark.
Yes.
Item number 2 is the public hearing on calendar year 2024 municipal and sewer utility budgets. Resolution 506-2024, number 138.
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Albertson.
At this moment in time, I would open the floor to the public for any comments and questions specifically to this number, resolution 138. We ask that you please state your name and address. Okay, close that portion to the public. Council, any further discussion on this item?
No.
Okay, without hearing any, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Albertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund,
Yes.
and Mr. Vandermark.
Yes.
I just would like to note a thank you to the Finance Committee, Finance Chair Cole Sigmund, Council Members Lance and Albertson, as well as the administrative team for putting together what I feel is a very responsible budget. We're meeting some goals in our budget this year, and we're doing it in a fiscally responsible way that does not impact the taxpayer significantly. So thank you for the work that you did on this budget. Okay. Item number 8 is resolutions. Mrs. Stats, our municipal clerk, will read them out, and she'll give a moment for each resolution to have a discussion if mayor and council so choose.
Resolution number 139 is to pay the bills.
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Albertson.
Mrs. Albertson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund,
Yes.
and Mr. Vandermark.
yes,
Resolution number 140 is the resolution to acknowledge the appointment of Brianna D. Candia as Deputy Registrar for the Borough of Dunellen.
Move it, Sigmund.
Second Rios.
Well, Brianna's been doing a great job. She passed her test to become a deputy registrar. And we're happy to have you on board, and council, I think myself and the administrative team will endorse this, and we hope that you'll follow suit.
We'll take a roll call. Mrs. Albertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mrs. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund?
Yes.
And Mr. Vandermark.
yes.
Brianna, want to join us? Mom, are you holding the Bible? Hello, Logan, are you there? You're streaming live from the Borough Hall at Dunellen. Okay. Ready to go? Yes. Okay. You have me, I, Brianna, and together. You solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And to the governments established in the United States and in this state. To the governments.
To the government established in the United States and in this state, under the
There you go. Yeah,
authority of the people, so help me God.
Good job. Mom, grandpa, grandma, the entire family, you'd be very proud of her. She's doing great work. Hey,
Next up, Resolution 141 to hire William George as Communication Coordinator effective as of May 7th, 2024.
Move it, Sigmund.
Second Albertson.
so William George, or as Billy, as we will come to know him, has great experience in public information, as well as communications. He comes to us from Rawway City. He's very experienced. He will help the town in the areas of how we're communicating outward, as well as assisting us administratively on grant research. And I think he's going to do a great job. His resume speaks to itself. The council members have received it. Alex, if you want to say anything.
No, this is a good thing. This is something that the borough really needs. As I said, down to the whole council, Billy's resume, it speaks for itself. We had about 20 candidates that applied, and Billy was definitely pretty much
Okay, great. Billy's here. Hi, Billy. You want to say a few words before we get voted on?
Just want to say I'm excited to go to the team here in Dunellen, and I look forward to all of the new development.
Thank you. So,
That's the last time I'm taking pictures.
yes, we won't have to have Alex in crooked photos anymore. Or blurry ones. But we appreciate everything you did, Alex. So we'll be happy to retire you on that too. Don't worry. So, okay.
All right.
Good. We'll take a roll call.
Mrs. Albertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mrs. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund?
Yes.
And Mr. Vandermark?
Yes.
Okay, welcome to the team, Philip. Congratulations. You'll get to work tomorrow. Believe me, we got a lot for you. You'll learn your key.
All right.
Okay.
Resolution number 142 is authorizing jurisdictional agreement by and between the Borough of Dunellen and the New Jersey Department of Transportation for 150 North Avenue.
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Rios.
So to speak to this really quick, whenever there's a development project, we expect through negotiations that the developers improve the streetscape in front of the project. So this way it enhances the pedestrian experience and streetscape of the downtown. With 150 North, unfortunately, as going through site plans and everything, the developer did find that there's a sewer line going right through where he would do these improvements. So we negotiated that instead of him doing the improvements, he would give back us the cost of what he otherwise would have paid towards in those improvements, such as the trees and the decorative lighting, and we can use those funds elsewhere in the downtown. And so the recommendation after that would be is we'll consider the Transit Village grant this year for Jackson to Jefferson to the terminus of Dunellen to do the improvements, because then we can include moving the sewer line in that grant application. So that would be my recommendation. But in this, at least we'll get otherwise what he would have paid back to the town, and we can use it for streetscape in the downtown. So that's what this is. And also when a developer does do it, you have to have a jurisdictional agreement with NJDOT that basically says that they're allowing them to do it, but the town is taking the responsibility after the improvements have been made to maintain it, et cetera. So that's also what this is all a part of. So there we go. I hope that explanation suffices.
All right, I'll take a roll. Mrs. Albertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mrs. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund?
Yes.
And Mr. Vandermark?
Yes.
Resolution number 143 is to hire Amores Petrovictus as a substitute crossing guard.
Move it,
Second, Rios.
Mrs. Albertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mrs. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund?
Yes.
And Mr. Vandermark?
Yes.
Resolution number 144 is to approve a barbershop license for Elegant Fades Barbershop.
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Rios.
Mrs. Albertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mrs. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund?
Yes.
And Mr. Vandermark?
Yes.
Resolution number 145 is to amend Resolution 03-04-2024, number 95, awarding a contract to Natural Green for Columbia Park, McCoy Park, Washington Memorial Park, and Moorcraft Park field maintenance.
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Albertson.
Mrs. Albertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mrs. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund?
Yes.
And Mr. Vandermark?
Yes.
Resolution number 146 is to approve ADP as a third-party provider for payroll/human resource services for 2024 for the Borough of Dunellen.
Move it, Rios.
Second, Sigmund.
Mrs. Albertson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mrs. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund?
Yes.
And Mr. Vandermark?
Yes.
Resolution number 147 is awarding a contract to Caffrey Tree and Landscape for tree replacement in the downtown not to exceed $40,000.
Move it, Sigmund.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund,
Yes.
and Mr. Vandermark.
yes,
Okay. That concludes our resolutions. Next up is our council reports. Councilman President Albertson, anything to report this evening?
Yes, I do. Been a busy month for the fire department. They had 13 calls, 8 were false alarms, 3 were hazmat incidents, 2 were good intent, and the year-to-date total was 66. On April 20th, they began to move into the bays with the reported Phase 1 completion. Unfortunately, despite the numerous assurances from the contractor, Phase 1 was incomplete and remains incomplete. We have attempted to receive accurate updates from the project manager. However, information provided has been inaccurate. They will be meeting with senior management and H&S tomorrow to review the inaccurate information and missed project deadlines in an effort to determine Phase 1 completion. And Sue Connolly will be giving more information about the fire department later on. Friends of Dunellen Public Library, the open air market is open on the first and third Sundays through November 3rd. Join them for food, mini golf, lovely handcrafted items. Meet your friends and neighbors for a fun afternoon from 11 to 3 p.m. The Shade Tree Commission held a delightful Arbor Day celebration at Faber Elementary School for the first grade students. Commission participated in the volunteer town hall and picnic. The members of the committee are a dedicated team of volunteers who work tirelessly to take care of the public trees in Dunellen, and I really want to thank them for what they do. The Dunellen Downtown Management Organization has been busy as well. They had their 4th annual Spring into Wellness event, and it was very successful. They've ordered hanging baskets. They've refreshed the ivy on the planters. They participated in the volunteer town hall and picnic and held a grand opening for Latrice Skin and Beauty on April 28th. The Dunellen American Legion is hosting Friday night dinners every Friday beginning at 5 p.m. and have car shows every first and third Wednesdays, 5 to 8 p.m. And that's all I have today.
Okay, thank you, Council President. Councilmember Rios?
Yes. Dunellen Parks and Rec, all recreation spring sports are in action, which includes tennis, track, soccer, baseball, and softball. The Recreation Department is thankful to all our coaches for all their hard work and dedication. And it doesn't take much to volunteer.
You should point out that you're a coach now too.
Yes, I am now. No, I am now coaching. Volunteer Picnic Day. This year we had our first volunteer picnic day. It was a great success for the first year. We would like to thank Mayor Salento for working towards hosting an event like this, recognizing and thanking all of our volunteers. We would also like to thank the Borough Council for your support. We would also like to thank councilpersons Terry Albertson, Crystal Lance, Iris Lance, Trina Rios, Bill Scott, Cole Sigmund for joining us that day. Hometown Hero banners will be hung up in the downtown by May 10th. We are up to 100 banners. 6 additional banners were added this season. The Memorial Day Parade will be on Memorial Day, May 27th at 10 a.m. If you are interested in marching in the parade or having a float, please contact Recreation Program Coordinator Kelly Cedar at kcedar@dunellenborough.com. Let's all come together to honor those who served. Dunellen Public Library, please visit our Facebook, our webpage, or stop in for our monthly calendar for great programs for all ages. Board of Ed, congratulations to this year's recipients for Educator of the Year. The Dunellen High School was Tatiana Jordan, middle school was Allison Agan, and Faber was Christina Scalero, educational specialist was Janet Castillo. Next Board of Ed meeting will be Tuesday, May 7th. Meeting will include the recognition of our May Student of the Month, the final budget hearing for next year, the renewal of our returning non-tenured staff members, and a presentation on school safety and HIB data for this year. A couple of upcoming dates for the Board of Ed would be Tuesday, the board meeting. The 24th, there's no school. The 27th, there's no school. And then the 28th of May will be that next Board of Ed meeting. Municipal Alliance, Friend Raiser, right? Okay, will be May 14th at 7:30 a.m. Yes, that's 7:30 a.m. Somebody questioned me on the typo. No typos. It is a breakfast fundraiser at the Dunellen Hotel this year. Please consider donating to the Municipal Alliance to continue educating and bringing awareness to our school. And this week is Teacher Appreciation Week for Dunellen teachers. Please take time to say thank you. Last, Mayor and council members, in your package is a presentation for a free food pantry at the Dunellen Public Library. I hope you've had the opportunity to look it over. I am asking for consensus to continue with this project. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Yes, I don't know if it's the time to ask the questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, first, I looked it over. I think it's a great idea. And I know this isn't your first initiative to address food insecurity. You've been doing it for years, and I commend you. So just a couple questions. Are there any other municipalities that are doing this on municipal property?
Middlesex has a free little pantry at their library. It is run by the Girl Scouts.
And how are we managing like the liabilities?
All volunteers will sign a hold harmless waiver.
And who's gonna be monitoring the food?
I will,
You will?
yes.
And the physical pantry, which is that being purchased or?
No,
Yeah,
we have a
volunteers.
donation and we have asked Mr. Shimko to build it for us.
I would like to join him in the shop to help with that. He's wonderful.
We'll see what we can do.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
And I believe we checked with insurance. They're the ones that came in with the waiver.
Yep.
Okay. And so this is not specifically a library administering it or?
The library
You?
trustees, we've all approved it on our end. We're all we all think that it's a great thing. And we already have a small little food section inside the library that the food just doesn't last there. There's a need. So we figured if we built something a little bigger so people wouldn't feel embarrassed or, whatever reasons they don't feel comfortable coming in.
So this will be inside, not?
No, this will be outside
Outside.
in the front under the camera.
Okay, and
So it'll be monitored by the camera.
it'll be non-perishable food, correct?
Non-perishable, I'm gonna speak with I did speak with the health, and I asked her like in the summer if I could put like fruits and vegetables, and she said it was fine, but I have to throw them out, check them every day.
Okay,
Because everybody grows a garden. You don't know what to do with 200 tomatoes.
And there'll be a sign on the box.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and I'll put a sign on the box that says that if you have any questions, to call the library and that it is being maintained, who it's being maintained by.
great. Thank you. Good idea. Council, any issues with moving forward with it? So can we just have a general consensus? Everybody's good?
Yes.
And if you guys want to volunteer, I have the whole harmless waiver.
Thank you, council member.
Thank you. And that's all from me today. Wait, let me double check.
Good work.
Right, Yep, that's all from me today. Thank you.
Council member Howe, what's going on, my friend?
All right, for the month of April, the Dunellen Police Department report, the Dunellen Police made 14 arrests and issued 254 summonses. 213 motor vehicle stops were made, 3 borough incident ordinances were enforced and tickets issued. 45 reports were filed, and there were 1,664 CAT incidents. This time, I'd like to thank Chief Smith and Mayor Sorrento for the temporary creation of daytime traffic safety unit. Residents may email trafficsafety@dunellenpd.com with details of locations and times of ongoing perceived violations that they may address the issues. Please send emails, do not call 911. Also, this Friday, May 10th, 4 of our officers will take part in the Unity Bike Ride to Washington, DC. Please support and wish Officers Joe Dudley, Marcine DeRosa, Brian Roberts, and Michael Latter a safe trip. And that's my report for this one.
I appreciate you saying the thanks to Chief and I, but also I think a good thanks goes to the Mayor's Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Task Force, who has also brought this issue to the forefront, especially when you were also on a council member, Hal. I know the full council supports this too, and I sure as hell know the residents support it as well. So happy we can all put it together and let's see how it goes. So good work on council's part too.
Hopefully it continues.
Okay. Councilmember Crisol Iris Lance.
So, softball, t-ball, baseball season is on its way. It's, awesome to see the families out there, whether they're coaching or just, applauding their children. And so our ball fields are really being used, and we're very thankful that, the Public Works Department, continues to maintain them, so that we have them available and clean every weekend. Our parks are being maintained daily, including weekly lawn and landscape maintenance. New mulch was installed at McCoy Park in preparation of the baseball and softball opening day ceremony. And I've observed children enjoying the maintained park. So once again, thank you, because it really does keep our community very vibrant and engaged. So Borough Hall is having new phones installed, and so there's internal preparation taking place to prepare for a changeover to the new phone service. An update on the Madison Ave Bridge lighting. The contractor has met with PSC&G on a new connection of power to the lighting system under the bridge. PSC&G will install the new power source, followed by the contractor reconnecting the power source to the existing meter box, followed by testing the existing electrical system. And we're looking forward to having the lights installed as we prepare for the installation of our wonderful murals. And that is all.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Sigmund.
Yes, thank you. So I would like to congratulate the newly elected officers of the Dunellen Arts Inclusion and Culture Commission. All officers were voted unanimously into their positions, and I look forward to a productive year with this amazing team of volunteers. So just to name them, it's Marianne Myers as chair, Sharonda Wise Shrimp as vice chair, Sylvia Switzer as treasurer, and Peg Lockwood as secretary. And speaking of murals, the Madison Avenue mural is complete and ready to be installed. We will be coordinating with DPW, or DPW will be coordinating to have those placed. And then I will go take pictures under them. And for the Prospect Avenue mural, we are reviewing the 7 submissions and plan to bring our recommendations to the mayor and council in June. Thank you to all the artists who submitted to us. In addition to the quality of the art, I was amazed at how well Dunellen was represented in each panel. It was truly amazing work and excited to show it off.
Nice.
And that's all for today.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing that one go up. But specifically to Madison Avenue, if we can coordinate when that's going to be done, so we can kind of have a nice little ceremony, being it was funded by the county, and we can get maybe some of the commissioners in and, you know, get a nice little photo op. You know, they like that, so.
We have a new photographer, I take it. So that would be wonderful.
So, good work. Thank you. Councilmember Bill Scott. I'll say this. There's a joke behind that. Bill's also current chief. His brother John was the chief before him. And at our recent town hall, I accidentally referred to him as Chief John Scott. So thanks for the little joke up here. Humor's needed, so thank you.
So for DPW, it's been a busy month. The DPW crews routinely clean the downtown area and all the Borough Hall parks and properties. Weekly lawn and landscape maintenance at the Borough Parks and Properties and Parks. Maintaining the ball fields for the school and recreation programs. New mulch at McCoy Park. They power wash the dugouts at McCoy Park. Road repairs, various locations throughout the borough. I don't know if there's many roads left. You paved them all. Walked along the brooks and streams to clear blockages. Assisted in the installation of the trash trap with Greenbrook. Continued curbside leaf pickup. Curbside leaf pickup will continue through May. And a reminder, the curbside branch pickup ended on April 30th. Any resident can always bring branches to the public works yard all year round. Street sweeping schedule continues, and please do not park on the street the day of the street sweeping schedule. The schedule is posted on the Borough website. And DPW removed and trimmed borough trees and assisted PSC&G on tree removal. That's all I have.
Oh, that's all?
That's it.
Okay.
Slow week for DPW.
I'll tell you this, DPW busts their ass. They're doing a great job, so good work to them. So really quick, I just want to thank everyone who participated in our April 25th Town Hall on volunteering, specifically Chief Bill Scott, as well as those who participated in our inaugural volunteer picnic day on Sunday, April 28th. Just a specific thank you to Kelly Cedar, who helped make this idea a reality. Without her, I don't think it would have happened. And also thank you to Alex Miller for helping with those logistics too. And please extend a thanks to Mr. Rios, Billy Bob's, Best Hot Dogs this side of the Mississippi River. And of course, all the volunteers who showed up and the public who joined. We got a decent amount of volunteers to sign up for the various committees and commissions. So we'll be dispersing those names to the committees. American Water, you'll see that they're doing work on the North Washington Avenue between North Avenue and First Street. They're milling and paving it. That began today. It'll take approximately 3 days, depending on weather. After the paving phase, the contractor will paint a yellow double line right down North Washington Avenue from North Avenue to the Greenbrook border. So nobody no longer can drive past you and go around in those double lines. We know there's been a few accidents there because of that. And well, this will allow the police to enforce that they can't do that. So Klein Place project, the contractors performed items to prepare for the sewer main installation, including pouring of concrete channels in the new sanitary manholes, milling the roadway in the areas where the sanitary main will be replaced, and delivering pipe, stone, and soil backfill materials to the site. The contractor has also begun installing, replacing sewer mains and lateral connections starting from the west end of Klein Place. I will note, as these contractors come in and materials delivered, they have to be placed somewhere. We do have easement on properties upward of 10 feet. Any damage that is done by them will be replaced and fixed. This is a temporary inconvenience for a long-term improvement. This road hasn't been paved for what, over 40 some odd years probably. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, and we just ask for everyone's patience. The road will look beautiful once it's done, and it'll have less water coming down it because of some of the improvements that we're investing in. So I understand some residents' concerns, but we ask for your understanding and patience in that. The road will be done by the end of the year, most likely, right? By the summer, so not even the end of the year. Okay. Greenbrook Trash Trap on Wednesday afternoon on April 17th. A significant milestone was reached as the Stormwater Solutions and the Department of Public Works successfully installed the Bandit Trash Trap in the Greenbrook Brook, a testament to our collective dedication and hard work. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Grant fully funds the trash trap for a whopping $39,000. This was in partnership with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, NOAA, Lower Raritan Watershed Project, and the Borough of Dunellen. The Greenbrook Trash Trap Project is a pilot program in which Dunellen was the first to receive, so we're going to be the model for the state, and many organizations will be following our project on their behalf. The trap location is 100 yards west of Jefferson Avenue. The Department of Public Works will maintain the trash trap, and the Lower Raritan Watershed Project will chart all debris cleanup data. And we'll have a nice little ceremony for this on May 19th on the date of the multi-site cleanup at what, 10:30 in the morning? So that'll be nice. Speaking the 19th, we'll have our cleanup, the third year of our multi-municipality, multi-partner initiative, which will include the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership, Mayor's Alliance for a Clean Greenbrook Waterway, and many more. Please join us at McCoy Park at 9:30 a.m. to clean up the Greenbrook and help keep one of our natural resources, you know, nice. It's nice that we have that. Pulaski Street Culvert Project, the contractor, Marlboro Construction, has completed pouring the new bridge's northern and south footings, abutments, and wing walls. They've also installed Reno mattresses and Gabion, right? Gabion rock baskets in the stream bed and up the banks for stabilization. They also assisted the water company by installing a sleeve under the stream bed from the abutment to their water main. They're currently getting ready to set bearings in the new bridge beams and coordinating with the gas and water companies to relocate services which conflict with the new storm sewer pipes to be installed. So this project is shaping up. I understand that this has caused some traffic delays for school traffic and residents on Walnut and South Avenue. I understand this is again a short-term inconvenience for a long-term improvement. Hopefully with this being done, water will flow much better. We're coming closer to the South Avenue Culvert project becoming a reality. And so once all that system has been repaired, water should be able to flow much better in this section of town. So again, the long-term goal outweighs the short-term annoyances. And not to mention, we're going to be conducting, hopefully passed in the bonds in the future, a truck route study that reroutes all these freaking trucks. So more to come on that one. Okay. From our engineers, for Lincoln Avenue, they're coordinating the closeout with the DOT for the overall project, so that's good news. Then we can receive our last voucher of grant funds, which will be nice for our debt services. Washington Avenue street lighting, CME is addressing the review comments received from the New Jersey Department of Transportation to advance the project to bidding. The lighting lease agreement and PO have been forwarded to PSE&G so they can order materials. The response from the Department of Transportation comments, county submission, and SHPO submissions are being processed. SHPO basically regulates any historical preservation stuff, right? Just so everyone's aware what that is. And the good news is we're going for LED lights, and we're looking at the other lights in the downtown that can be replaced to that. So we'll improve lighting in the downtown too, which hopefully then improves some of these lights that are out half the time. Second Street project, the phase 1 field surveys are scheduled to commence next week. Again, this is from Madison Avenue to the Middlesex border. Dunellen Station, K. Alvanian project. A punch list for the development has been prepared and transmitted to the developer. CME's the recycling tonnage grant application for 2023 has been submitted. They're in receipt of comments from the NJDEP regarding railroad culvert project. And they're in contact with them with regard to what needs to be done to receive final approval. The NJDOT 88 project, as we noted in prior council meetings, the Department of Transportation is coming through the downtown, improving ADA compliant ramps. We suggested to them that being that we have the money through redevelopment to do the rapid beacon lights, push buttons at several key locations in the downtown for pedestrian safety, they should just basically do the whole thing together instead of doing one project and then coming back later on. So that request has been submitted and they're reviewing it. CME applied to the annual stormwater annual report, and updates to the stormwater pollution prevention plan has been authorized by the borough. They're assisting the borough with preparing an updated stormwater control ordinance as required by the state of New Jersey. And they're proceeding with the remaining remediation work associated with the strip joint site, which is 635 Boundbrook Road, and discussed the recent project meeting that they had with, I believe it was DEP, right? Okay. So that's that for my report. Council has any questions for me? Okay. Okay. Item number 11 on the agenda is public comments. Oh, no, number 10, department heads. Anything to report this evening? Yes.
Sue Connolly, Deputy Fire Chief. April was a busy month for the fire department with several drills and events. April 6th, we met at Greenbrook House 2 to assist in the annual removal of the star that is illuminated every holiday season. April 8th was our monthly work drill where apparatus and equipment are tested and inspected. April 15th, members attended a forcible entry drill. April 20th, members attended the annual baseball softball parade. April 20th and 21st, we moved all loose equipment and storage into the firehouse bays in anticipation of Phase 1 completion. April 25th, members presented at the Mayor's Volunteer Town Hall. April 26th, a crew was assigned to provide coverage in Middlesex Borough while their department attended their annual firefighters fair at the high school. April 28th, members and mayor and council attended the annual firefighters memorial service at their monument in Washington Park, followed by an annual brunch at the recently reopened Dunellen Hotel. April 28th, members attended the first Borough Volunteer Picnic in Columbia Park. Apparatus update. Truck 4 is well into production with engine 3 moving quickly to the production line. We anticipate a pre-delivery acceptance inspection the week of July 8th to approve the apparatus before it's shipped to New Jersey. Dunellen Defender Fire Company and the Dunellen Fire Department are seeking new volunteer members. Anyone interested in joining can visit us at www.dunellenfd.com or you can email us at joindfd@dunellenfd.com.
Thank you. Before I open it up to other department heads, I just want to make note of our noise ordinance because I know that is a topic of conversation on social media, and God forbid we come to a council meeting. I've looked at all the calls since the new ordinance, and yes, there have been several calls, of course. And so I have spoken with the chief of police. And so if there is a noise that is disturbance of the peace at hours that are not appropriate, please call the non-emergency line, which is 732-968-3000 extension 0. The only way the police can actually enforce the noise ordinance is if they are called to the scene. They cannot just drive around town and assume that is disturbing the neighbors. You have to call the police. So the chief is having another conversation with our police department. I would suggest if you have called and you don't feel it was done appropriately, I would email the chief or the lieutenant, soon to be captain, and express your concerns, and they can handle it internally through their departments. So again, I just reiterate, if you have a concern with noise, which I can understand, please call the police. Social media is a nice place to vent, but nobody is looking at it 24/7, okay? And if you can't remember the non-emergency line, 911, okay? Thank you. But we prefer not to tie up the emergency line with that, so. Let the cops do their job, but you have to call them to do it. I'll just say that. Okay, other department heads.
Yeah, I'd like to follow. Volunteer town hall and. Leaders. That was really nice. At. Town hall, the volunteer day. Something that. Talking about for a little while and Kelly Stevens.
Yep.
Kelly's probably. Besides the mayor or myself, and probably Sharon, happy that you guys, for the ability to become engineers, because Kelly's been doing a lot of, media, whether it was the government week, to, the town hall event, to helping out with the Dunellen report, so I do want to say it's very helpful.
I agree. So she's been doing great work. Anything for finance department? Okay. Police? We got something.
Lieutenant Chris Beaners, the Dunellen Police Department, Mayor Council. Good evening, everyone. So the last meeting on the 15th, it was brought to the police department's attention. I guess some residents from Columbia Street had brought up a petition about the speeding. During that time, or since then, from 416 to 425, the police department did a traffic study We had officers stationed between 3 p.m., 7 p.m. on numerous days for traffic enforcement. This was done as it was reported to be the times where speeding was of the greatest concern. Traffic speed radar signs were also posted during this time to record the speeds for the entire 10 days that they were up and posted. Excuse me. Findings, 85% of the vehicles were shown to be traveling at 18 miles an hour or lower. Approximately 13% were traveling 19 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour. The highest speed that was recorded was 35 miles per hour. The findings are that 98% of the vehicles were traveling at or under the posted speed of 25. Only 2% of the vehicles recorded speeding were over 25 of the speed limit, with the fastest being recorded at 35 miles per hour. Data also showed that the highest volume of vehicles traveled on Columbia Street were between the hours of 2 and 4. The bulk of the vehicles that were recorded were steady during the hours of 6 until 8 at night. So I'm not saying that there hasn't been speeding down there, but the findings are that everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. The Unity Tour also, I like to, as a Councilman of Vandermark brought up before, it's this Friday, and Sergeant Robbins, along with Officers Dudley, Narodzik, and Latter, they're going to be participating in this year's Police Unity Tour. The officers will leave from Franklin Township en route to Washington, D.C. The Police Unity Tour is a 3-day, 300-mile cycling ride where each participant travels in the name of memory of an officer who died in the line of duty. Officers from all 50 states and numerous countries come to New Jersey to participate and ride each year. So I think, again, it's good to acknowledge that these officers from Dunellen are taking the time to do this for a great event. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Okay. I don't see any other department heads in here. Library, actually, there you are.
Shows for everything she's doing, with regards to our little creative pantry that we definitely support. We have had a little pantry on the interior of the library, and we have seen that it's helped all different types of patrons, from those who are experiencing food security, what you think of, and even kids after school who are spending a couple of hours in the library for a snack or a bottle of water. So thank you for supporting our town.
Okay, thank you. Okey doke. If there's no other department heads, we'll open up this meeting to the public for any comments or questions. We will start with those who are in person, and then we'll move to online. So this way we don't have a mix up. We just ask that you state your name and address.
I'm Carl Peter Clapper, 130 Front Street, apartment 2L. A couple of concerns here. One is with the start of the project on Washington Avenue, I've seen an increase in the amount of traffic traversing on Jackson Avenue as the alternative. And I would hope that there's some efforts made to have some traffic calming features or whatever for that, because it's not really suitable for the traffic, for it to bear the Washington Avenue traffic. The other thing is the status of the sidewalks. In my perennial move back and forth from my storage space in Greenbrook, I've noticed that there are several severely uneven sidewalks. Section between First Street and Second Street, and then as you get closer to Mountain View Terrace, there are some sections there that are difficult to navigate, especially when you're carrying stuff. So if people can take a look at the status of the sidewalks in terms of their whether they're properly maintained, and some of them may need to be replaced. There are also a number of hedges that impede the movement of pedestrians on sidewalks. Again, near First Street, and on Washington Ave, North Washington Avenue, and another instance a couple of blocks up. If we can, encourage, help some of the landowners to trim the hedges so that the sidewalks are clear. You don't have to do a sidewalk motion in order to get there. That would be extremely helpful. And there continue to be cases where motor vehicles are blocking sidewalks on Front Street. I run into this all the time. Some very close to where I live and some further down the road. If there can be some sort of announcement to residents that it's good manners to make sure that your vehicle doesn't block a sidewalk, that would be helpful. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Okay, thank you. We can talk to property maintenance about several of your concerns. So Lauren, I see, is recording it, and we'll talk to them for you. Any other members of the public that are in the chambers, please state your name and address. Nothing, Mr. Morgan? Okay. Well, I saw the piece of paper. That's why I called him out.
805 Front Street. I asked you this question once before, but at the time it wasn't a price to ask you. Where Doxy or Roofs is, or Doxy and Roofs. Yeah, Roxy and Deuce. And the other apartments up by North Avenue. Is there gonna be some kind of traffic light? Because I see a lot of traffic. When those apartments are finished, I don't think anybody's gonna be able to cross the road. And another thing was, down by where Community Cleaners was. Yeah, you know where Community Cleaners is, down by by Sanford Avenue. On
Yeah, the
corner?
bandit cleaners.
On the building, there's a picture of a guy standing against the wall and relieving himself. And I was just thinking, that's not the kind of thing you want to see coming into Dunellen. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
And that's the only one I see in the area. But I'm just worrying
I
about.
can tell you we have property maintenance on that property code enforcement's on that property.
Oh,
They're-
okay.
They're looking at it.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
one of the things that I see Alex taking notes. He'll
Well, we
tell
took
them
a
to look
tour
at
on the
it.
fire department. We went over Roxy and Duke, right? We went over, took a tour, and I could just see that curb where they come out. They're not gonna be able to see any traffic. It's gonna be tough. I can see the cops, the rescue squad, even the fire department getting involved in accidents.
Which driveway?
The one that they would go in and out, where they have the overhang,
Got it. Okay.
right there, because when you pull out, you really can't see.
Well, NJDOT has to review all of this and the sight lines and the compliance of it on whether they'd approve it or not. If they didn't think it was appropriate, they would not have approved it. We've had
Okay.
several of these projects actually get fixed because the NJDOT did not appreciate what they were doing. So
Okay,
NJDOT approved the project in terms of the ingress egress.
okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Pertaining to where lights are gonna be at the intersection of Warrenville Road and Boundbrook Road, right there at Route 28, there is a traffic light. But if you're referring to possibly Sanford and Boundbrook Road by the dry cleaners, that's one of the locations we are working with NJDOT to put one of the rapid and beacon lights at. So when somebody goes to cross, they can press it and notifies the driver that they're crossing. In terms of where 520 North Avenue is, which is the project coming around the bend, we actually have been in conversations with a developer. They're interested in working with NJDOT to put an intersection there too. And them installing a rapid beacon light is there as well there to let drivers know somebody's crossing the road. So I hope that answers your question. Anybody else from the public in chambers, please state your name and address. Okay, without hearing any in the chambers here, we'll open the floor to anybody online if they want to state their name and address and ask their question, make their comments known. Harriet James. Oh, Mr. Petito. Hi, Harry. You can
Hi,
talk.
Mayor. How you doing? Can you
Hi,
hear
I'm
me
well.
now?
Yourself? Harry, can you just state where you live?
I live in Dunellen, 331 Walnut Street, 28
Okay.
years.
331 Walnut Street.
I want to address the issue of the council, the Borough Council, Mr. Mayor, moving Lieutenant Chris Peters up to captain. I think it's not a good idea. I think it's a phenomenal idea. It's the only way you're going to keep seasoned officers here is to give them a light at the end of the tunnel. We've had a big turnover in the department in the number of years I've lived here, and I speak from experience of 28 years of law enforcement. And I think it's a phenomenal thing. It's well earned here. We got a great department here, and I applaud the council and the mayor for bringing this up and doing this.
Well, we agree with you. So, thank you for calling in and thank you for your service too in law enforcement.
You're welcome.
Any other members of the public online, please state your name and address. No one else?
No less.
Okay. If there's no other public comments from anybody, we'll close this portion of the meeting. And item number 12 on our agenda is a resolution to enter in executive session. We have resolution 506-2024, number 148. I'm just going to read it out. If I can have a motion in a second afterwards. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act and NJSA 10 4-6 permits the closing of meetings to the public under certain circumstances, and whereas there exists such a circumstance, and whereas authorizing the Borough Council to go into executive session to discuss litigation, which after which action may be taken, and whereas minutes of the executive session will be kept and be released when the matters under discussion during executive session are no longer confidential. Therefore, be it resolved that the Borough Council will enter into executive session. Can I have a motion, a second, please?
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Scott.
All in favor? We'll take a roll call just to be safe.
Mrs. Albertson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sigmund,
Yes.
and Mr. Vandermark.
Okay, at this time, we will take a 5-minute recess. Members of the public, we are unfortunately going to have to ask you to leave while we're in executive session. You are welcome to join us after. We're just going to have to ask you to step outside and the doors will be locked until we can let you back in. Okay, can we have a motion and a second to come into, return from, executive session into a regular session, resolution number 149?
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Albertson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, there is no further business at this council meeting, so can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Move it, Sigmund.
Second, Rios.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good night.